Welcome to part number 3 of my 4-part video series. Today we are talking more about content creation. If you haven't watched video number 1 about brainstorming how to come with ideas, you can pause it, watch video number 1. Video number 2 was all about long form content, how to create long form content, why it's important, and a few tips and tricks. And now we ended up with creating more content. So let's dive right in. When I say creating more content, now if you watched my last video, you might think, we talked about long form content and now you want to create more content. How does that all fit together? Once I created my ideas, I put them all in my Excel document. Now I create my long form piece of content. I will update my content calendar saying I created this long form piece of content. I edited the long form content. As you know, my strategy is based on YouTube videos. So my long form piece of content is a YouTube video, which I then transcribe into a blog post and polish that blog post up, add headlines, pictures, whatever is needed. And I'm also creating a podcast for my audio listeners. I know that some people prefer listening to audio content while they're driving in the car. Personally, I love listening to podcasts in the morning when driving to work, or I'm driving to client meetings, or I'm driving to meeting someone, especially when you live in LA, where it's always slow on the freeways and you're pretty much stuck in traffic all the time. Sometimes it's nice to listen to music, but sometimes it's also nice just to listen to a podcast. So I update my content calendar saying, okay, I created my long form piece of content. It's all done. Next, of course, we want to cater to all our other social media channels. So you need to think about first, before you create more content, what channels do you truly want to be on? I understand that you want to be anywhere and everywhere, but you have to be realistic. As a solo creator, unless you have tons of time and nothing else to do, of course you can be everywhere. But let's be realistic. We can be anywhere and everywhere, especially as a solo creator. If you have other things to do, it's impossible for you to focus on all these different channels. So I say pick the channels you really want to be on. So TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So those are the channels I want to be on. My major channels are definitely TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So you need to think about, do you want to be on X? Do you want to be on Pinterest? Do you want to create Snapchat content? What do you really want to do, and what helps you to get you the best business results? So once I created my long form video content, I can use that content to create shorts and reels and TikTok content. So I'm reviewing my long form content, see what are the golden nuggets. So you want to look out for sections within your long form video that you can create as standalone pieces. And now you have to be careful. If you take out information from a long form content into a smaller piece, you have to make sure that this smaller piece over here still has enough context to understand this video, even if you've never seen the long form video. So don't just take random pieces and think, oh yeah, that makes sense because it makes sense to you. It has to make sense to your audience. So you have to edit and create those small pieces in a very strategic way that even if left standalone, they still make sense and they still provide value. On average, from a long form piece of content, you can create anywhere from like 2 to 4 short form pieces. And then those short form pieces would carry you through the week depending on how often you post. And I post the short form pieces on LinkedIn. You can post them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm also creating graphics based on the blog post. So let's say I do my video, I transcribe it into a blog post. Now I review the blog post, and based on the blog post, I create small graphics for Instagram. Of course, in today's world, nowadays, we all focus on short form content. Everything is reels, everything is video content. But once to twice a week, I still like to throw in a little graphic, something that's easily savable on Instagram where people can go back to and just summarize your entire blog post in, let's say, 3 to 4 different slides. And that all goes back to Canva. I create everything in Canva. And I have predefined templates that I can just use to plug in the information. So these are templates that are on brand. They're using the brand colors, everything is branded, and they just overall fit into my Instagram aesthetic. So before you start creating content, I always recommend go to a Canva account, whether it's a free or paid account, create a few templates that you can use for sharing information, let's say on your Instagram account. So when I say create graphics or short form content out of your long form content, it might seem more complicated than it is, but I don't want that you feel overwhelmed. So for example, last month I posted a video about email marketing, why email marketing is important, how to create a welcome email sequence. This was also a 3-part video series, and I created like why do you need email marketing into a quick graphic slide. So I said, why do you need email marketing? And 3 following slides saying the reason why you need it, how you can set it up, and these are the tools to use. So it's a very simple yet powerful graphic that adds value. Don't overthink the graphics you post online. It just needs to be little pieces, little snippets of information that are helpful if someone sees it and lures them back to your account to consume more of your content. I consider the content creation cycle done once I created my long form piece of content, I created 2 to 3 reels out of it, and I created a graphic. Now I pretty much suck the most juice out of this one video as possible. And this will provide me with enough content for the week. Because on Monday I post my blog post, on Tuesday I post a podcast, and on Friday I post a long form piece of content. In between, I post 2 to 3 short form reels. I create 1 to 2 different graphic slides, and this carries me through an entire week of content. What I also like to do, and you can even use artificial intelligence for this, take the blog post that you wrote or use the transcript and plug it into ChatGPT. And you can tell ChatGPT, be very specific with your prompts, but you can say, give me the 3 key pieces out of this blog post, or create 3 to 4 different quotes out of this blog post. Now you don't have to do it yourself, just plug it into ChatGPT. ChatGPT does it for you, and then you can just take the quotes. These are your quotes because you created the video, you wrote the blog post, so these are your quotes. ChatGPT just helps you to put them in a quote format. So you can just copy them. You can, again, put them on LinkedIn as a standalone quote. You can create a beautiful template using Canva to create the quote. And this will also help you to establish more credibility. Not every content piece you create might have the greatest quotes, but it's always worth to throw them into an artificial tool, see what quotes come out, or you might skim the blog post yourself and look out for quotes. And this is more content, again, that you can create from just your long form piece that will carry you through the week. As I mentioned before, I dedicate certain days to creating those tasks. So one day I just film the content, one day I really try to focus on editing, and then one day I just create all the graphics. And I'm very efficient in creating this. And the more you do it, the faster you'll get as well, especially if you already have pre-designed templates in place. And this really builds the core of your content. This is like this little ball in the middle of your core content. And now you have time to create TikTok videos for the latest trends. So you can post trending videos, you can post other videos, you can post a personal picture of yourself or anything else that has nothing to do with your long form piece of content. But I'm telling you, if you're a little bit short on time, if you're a solo creator, if you stick to the core piece of content, at least you're ensuring that every week you're putting out valuable content, regardless if you have time to jump on a trend or not. And this also led us yet again to another episode of the Content Marketing Cheat Sheet podcast. I'm so glad you tuned in. I cannot wait to see you next week. And always remember, the world is your oyster, but everything is disgusting. Until then, goodbye, or how we say in Germany, auf Wiedersehen.